Good evening, everyone. It is 6:01, and there being four members or five members. Why can't I count? Because I missed Skip. How I can miss Skip, I don't know. There being five members of the Conservation Commission present, they being Bill Cannon, Skip Clark, Jared Gentilucci, Melissa Danza, and myself, Peter Crane. I declare that we have a quorum, and I am opening the April 6, 2021 meeting of the Rutland Conservation Commission. Unless there is an objection, I will waive the reading of the remote meeting business that we just have to do all too frequently. Well, we haven't said it for a while because we haven't needed to. Let us begin then with minutes from March 16th. Bill, I know you weren't there. I've been through them.
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
Roll call. Danza.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Cannon.
I wasn't.
Oh, that's right. You weren't there. I just said you couldn't be there. You're abstaining. Gentilucci.
Aye.
Crane, aye. That carries. We can now move on. Now, I'm sorry, folks, but I'm kind of reading notes to myself about things I need to discuss. And the first thing I want to discuss that's not explicit on the agenda is how the meetings are going to be structured moving forward. Let me show the agenda that we have, and it's all well and good. So as you can see, we have our normal things, old and new business. The last element that's here on discussion, which is bylaws and regulations, that will always be the last thing we talk about. We'll do all our other business. And then we'll start on bylaws and regulations with whatever time we have left. This meeting, I do not want to run longer than 2 hours. So if we've got a half hour, if we end all of our other business at 7:30, we'll go from 7:30 to 8 on bylaw and regulations. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But if we're too close to 8 o'clock, we'll just call the meeting anytime we do that, so we don't run on forever. There is no great urgency to getting the bylaw and regulation stuff done, but we do need to get moving because it's going to come up on us faster than we like. So that's just the way the meetings are going to go. For all of our visitors, we normally start at the top of the agenda and work down. So let's start with a certificate of compliance for Craig Bacon Lot 6 East County Road, which is this one right here. So it's for when did
Peter,
I
just as a side note, I didn't find out until later that Craig was the former owner, and it was sold to this gentleman that now owns the property. And this never came, the orders never showed up or came up when it transferred ownership.
Yeah, that's not surprising. That was still in before the banks really cared about paperwork time. It was probably, 2003, 2004 in that time frame. And since then, the banks have started to really pay a lot more attention. So I'm not surprised that there was no request at the last transfer. So this is it's 19 and a half years old. Do we see a reason to think we should visit this property to take a look at it? I mean, I don't object. Does somebody thinks that's the right thing to do here? I don't hear anybody saying anything. So I'm going to suggest that being near enough 20 years old, that our visiting without a need that we think, without some other reason for us to visit, just to observe, if it hasn't taken by now, there would be other wetlands issues, is my contention. So can I have a motion to sign the COC?
Motion to sign TOC.
Second.
Roll call. Cannon.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Gentilucci.
Aye.
Danza.
Aye.
Crane, aye. That carries. Hey, we actually did some more paperwork that Tamika can print off. Tamika's printed a lot of stuff. I actually, since she works for us and she prints so much for us, I see all her requests for paper and ink. We have no hearings. We have, hearings. Tamika.
Yes.
Let's put the 7 lots on the next agenda, please, and go ahead and post the hearing.
Okey-doke.
We are getting some serious pushback from doing separate NOIs because the fees on both ends at the registry are troublesome to the applicant, shall we say.
Peter, I was actually going to bring this up later in correspondence, but were you on that email chain with Kim Roth that was specific to those requests?
Yes, and I still don't understand what her deal is.
So she sent another follow-up email today, and the gist of it is that Julian had put on the NOI that they were exempt from stormwater without providing the documentation to say that the entire subdivision had it, and that the DEP had a superseding order of conditions. And she explained to him, you can't just say you're exempt without providing the paperwork. So she requested the paperwork be provided, and she actually was in support of him submitting 6 or 7 separate NOIs for the commission. And she wants him to follow up on that as well.
Okay.
So that was her latest email this afternoon, and I have not heard anything from him.
All right, we will, I'll have another conversation with Clea about this then. Because if the DEP cares, we should care, and so should he, and just have to suck it up. Okay. But either way, let's definitely get it get the hearing on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay, I've been holding the checks too. So do you feel comfortable that I can turn those checks over?
Yeah, well, Julian sent the extra check, right, to cover the difference between separates and.
No, he did not. He
Oh,
provided.
he didn't.
No, he provided one original check with the submission, and then the separate check for the hearings. For the hearing, I should say.
Oh, for the paper.
Yep.
Oh, all right. So I do need to have a more serious conversation with Clay. Okay, fine. Clay and Julian, between the two of them, we'll get this straightened out. We've got until, this is only a 7-day notice, right? For the hearing?
Yes.
Or is it 14? It's got to be 7 because it would be too late to start.
No, it's only, yeah, like for posting, it only has to be 5 days prior to the hearing that it has to be posted.
All right. So
Yeah.
I'll deal with them over the next day so that we'll have what we need so we can post Thursday.
Okay, sounds good.
Unless someone has an objection or another thought on the matter, let's bring it up to the whole commission. Hearing nothing. All right, that's what we'll do. We don't have any votes scheduled. We talked about that. So let's start with, maybe I should. Yeah, well, there's the first one. Let's talk about the Open Space Committee. How many members did I want to go back and review this again. How many members did we make the Open Space Committee when we voted it before? Was it 7?
I think that's right, Peter.
And how many slots were for at-large members?
I thought we did 2, but I could go back and look at the minutes.
I was thinking that was my best recollection, but I don't trust my memory. This is why I'm asking the questions. Okay. So we got 4 good interested letters. We got letters of interest from 4 good people. We talked to them at the last meeting. I am in favor of us changing the size of the Open Space Committee from 7 to 9 so we can admit all 4 members. But I would like a motion to do one of 2 things. To either I would like a motion to either accept 2 to name 2 nominees to the 2 open slots, or I'd like a motion to change the size of the Open Space Committee to 9 members, allowing 4 at-large members.
I'll make the motion to change it to 9 members and 4 open, 4 at-large members.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Danza,
Aye.
Gentilucci,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Cannon,
Aye.
and Crane, aye. So having done that, let me now say that our 4 names are Mariah Heppy, George Farrington, Paul Hanley, and Brian Bjorkland. So I think we can do this as a slate if someone will make a motion for all 4 members to appoint to the Open Space Committee.
I'll make the motion to appoint all 4 members to the Open Space Committee per names Peter Crane announced.
Second.
Do we have other discussion? We do not. I see that we have at least a couple of the candidates on. I'll go one at a time to see if they have anything else they'd like to add before we go on. Let's start, please, with Brian Bjorkland.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just want to say that I'm excited to serve my community in this aspect. And I've been talking with George Farrington quite a bit as neighbors. And I'm very excited about this. So thank you.
Right, you're very welcome. No, that I don't see Paul, but I do see. Nope. Wait, that one should be Mariah. Right, I don't see her.
That is me.
George is you. Yep. Okay.
It just comes up as my wife. Sorry.
No, not a problem. I knew it was you. I was thinking there was someone else I saw too.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out how to change it. I'd just like to say thank you very much. I'm excited to like Brian. I'm excited to serve our community in this way.
Okay.
We both have a lot of great ideas, and I'm looking forward to more. So thank you.
Great. And I believe those are the, any other candidates
That's not
on the line here?
not to, but
Not that I hear. Okay. Anything else from the commission? Then we have a motion and a second. Let us quickly do a roll call vote. Danza,
Aye.
Gentilucci,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Cannon. Did I miss
Aye.
the last vote, Bill? I think I missed you at the last vote, didn't I?
Who, me? No,
Yes.
you didn't. No.
Okay. Well, and Crane, aye. Great. So if I didn't forget, that's awesome. Motion carries. You are all now members of the Open Space Committee. I will be sending an email soon to establish the first meeting, which I believe, let me look at my calendar, is going to be, there it is. I'm shooting for April 26th, which is a Monday night when the select board does not normally meet, and that there are no other meetings scheduled for that I know of. So I think that makes a really good time for this group to meet. Forget trying it Tuesdays and Thursdays. But that will be my suggestion. I will send an email out to the entire committee soon. I also want to say I had a conversation with David George, who is the town planner. Is he actually on the master plan committee, or is he just a consultant, Melissa?
He's just as like a town staff.
Okay. But he's very interested in having the master plan group and the open space committee working pretty closely together, because open space is one of the chapters of the master plan. So there is some natural synergy there. He's also starting to help dig around to find out what things from the last version of the open space and recreation plan have actually been done and which ones are being worked on throughout the town. And I believe that list will be small, but that's the way it goes when plans get shoved in a drawer after they're written. But I also have faith with Dave around. That's not going to happen this time. So great. Thank you all very much for volunteering.
Peter, I'll reach out to Paul and Mariah to let them know that they've been appointed as well.
Thank you very much. And so I'll give you a day or so for that before I write my welcome everyone letter. And here's my suggestion for a date to meet. And hopefully everybody can meet then and we won't have to hustle around too many days. And then I need to put that agenda together. That's okay. I have lots of agendas I can steal from. That's it for the Open Space Committee. Discussion point. Here, let me close some of these. Because I need to make sure that my notes align with this. I will now admit to something, and that something is that I am about 2 weeks behind on email because of work. So I'm about 2 weeks behind on town email and phone calls, and I'm slowly getting out of the pile of things. So I haven't even responded to this email from Melissa, which was downright fascinating, that said that they're tearing up the ground. And that is very disturbing for me for two reasons. First of all, it's the fact that it's being done so close to wetlands. But secondly, because I talked to the owner of Cracked Food Truck and told him that would be a problem. So, Tamika, did we?
Peter, if
Yep.
I may, the owner of the food truck is not the owner of the property.
Yes,
So
that is true.
I reached out to Dave George and I did get the contact information for the property owner should you guys decide to take action and want to send something to him.
Oh, we absolutely want to send something to him. Yes, I think an instant cease and desist stabilize. I think everything that Melissa wrote in this email, we should have already gotten out to them, and it's my fault that we don't. Have we seen? So Melissa, this was end of March, so it was last week. I haven't driven past there even yet. So can you tell me what well, have things changed in the last few days to your knowledge? Last week?
Not to my knowledge. Like, there's a small piece of equipment out there by the little, I don't know if it's a house that they live in, but on the 122 side. And it was more just the concern, especially during the rain that we had last week. It was really rallied out. Sorry if you can hear my dog. And big pockets of mud that with the buses coming in and out was just getting worse and worse.
Okay. So so the first thing I'd like to do is absolutely send out a cease and desist. So one of the awful questions is, what are they supposed to do with the buses until this is all straightened away? Because I don't know why the buses are even properly there, because they have a bus lot. There's a bus lot on East County Road for the school buses. So
Here,
my
it's my
guess is,
understanding that those are overflow buses, I guess, and he has some sort of like payment arrangement worked out. So I think he's getting paid to allow them to put them there, basically.
okay. Wow.
That's generally what happens, Peter.
Yeah, well, what concerns me is oil leaks from buses. I mean, they don't have gas there, so they're not going to fill the tanks there, and that's great. I remember when we did the when we did the notice of intent for the upgrades to East County Road, that they actually have provisions in their system so that they don't get oil leaks that leave the high part of the property, the highlands, uplands, whatever you prefer to call them. Irrespective, we definitely have to, I don't see any way for us to avoid doing a C&D and basically a demand that they stabilize and that they put up erosion controls, stabilize the hell out of it, and then come to us with a notice of intent, because they're too close to the wetlands. I don't see any way around an NOI. Am I wrong about that, Melissa?
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, it's more the squeaking that I was
No,
hesitating
no,
about.
no, that's, the only reason you don't hear my dog is that I'm in the library right now. Okay, so this is, so I think all we need is a motion, right? Do we want other conditions? No, let's start with a motion, then we'll discuss what goes in the content.
I'll move to issue a cease and desist to the property at 217 Barre Paxton Road.
I'll second.
Okay, now let's talk about what conditions we want. And the one is, obviously we want them to put up the erosion controls. We want them to stabilize, and we'd like to get an NOI for the work they intend to do. Are there any other elements we should put in this letter?
I would maybe just specify some dates in which we want it done by, and to ensure that they contact Tamika, or the Concom email.
Very good. So let's find a date that we think is reasonable to put up erosion controls. So that's number one. The good news is it's going to be dry this week. So is there a problem with us saying we'd like to see the erosion controls by April 13, which is 1 week, or is that too long?
I would even just say 48 hours upon receipt of this letter, because if we send it certified, we can know when they get it.
Fair enough.
Because that's the most important aspect of it at this point, I think.
And then I don't want to be the engineer, but what should we tell them about stabilization that they need to have done ASAP?
Stabilization of any stockpiled soils is probably the biggest concern, or slopes adjacent to wetland edges.
Okay. And when do we want an NOI? Do we want to place a date for the NOI? Because they're going to have to get everything surveyed. They're going to need a scientist come out to actually formally map the wetlands.
Mm-hmm. Typically, I've usually seen 30 or 45 days, obviously with the condition that, if they express to us what's delaying them, we can grant those extensions.
Okay. Let's keep it 30 for now. Actually, no. This is April. There are no big holidays coming up that's going to stop them April into May. So I'm leaning towards 30 days, but I can easily be persuaded to go 45.
30's fine.
And then as you said, Melissa, we will, for good reason, just cause, whatever you want to call it, I don't mind extending it as long as they're doing the work and getting the, working through the NOI. Are there any other elements of this letter?
In the letter, Peter, would you like me to request their attendance at our next meeting on April 20th to further discuss this?
I think that's a very good idea. And then we can also talk about progress on getting the NOI done as well. And at the same time, we can discuss the other matter. In fact, I don't have, oh gosh, I know I showed the tie-in bond. Let me see if I can find that specific thing, because since it's all the same property and the same property owner, we should also be able to discuss, is that the one I want? That's the one I want. I mean, let's put it this way. It deeply concerns me that the, yes, I'm trying to do too many things at once. It deeply concerns, oh, let me guess, I shouldn't have done that. Right. That this land is known to be, is known to be in not pristine condition. That's, I hesitate to use the polluted word, but when there are substances that exceed the mass contingency plan and the owner knows about it, I'm concerned with what he's doing with any dirt that he's, or even blacktop that he's stripping off.
I would just, Peter, are we also like with the letter, are we issuing an official enforcement order? Like the WPA Form 9, I think?
I think we ought to.
Okay, because I'm just, as that also gets sent to Mass DEP, that can maybe come with a note from Tamika, stating we want to ensure that this is also in compliance with their consent order that they did have at one point through Mass DEP.
Yes, and that in fact, nothing shall be removed from the property without DEP approval. How about if we say that? Or words like that? You get that, Tamika?
Can you say it one more time?
That no materials, earth, rocks, blacktop, etc. No material shall be removed from the property without DEP approval.
Got it.
Yeah, because there's, yeah. So that sort of wraps both of these elements from our agenda into one, and I'm just as happy doing that.
Do we need a motion to do the enforcement order?
Well, it's true, we did only vote to do a COD, a C&D.
I'll amend my motion to include an enforcement order.
Second.
I was going to say, whoever seconded the original motion.
That was me.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything else about these two issues, the earthwork that he's doing and the
I guess the only other thing, Peter, is just that I had reached out to the Board of Health and did get a response back from them, although it wasn't very helpful, I guess.
I would agree. I look at this. This is their response. Yeah, I don't know that I agree completely with their third paragraph that the DEP is the watchdog. I don't believe that's true at all. But I also agree the food truck's permitted and is not, as we discussed last time, really interacting with the earth or with anything there. So other than maybe some, he probably gets electric, but other than that, I doubt he gets anything. Everything else is supposed to be completely self-contained. So, is there anything else we need to do?
Just roll
Tamika,
call.
what's that? I'm sorry?
Just roll call.
Well, in a moment.
Oh, okay.
Tamika, copies of the C&D and the form, copies of all of this should be sent to the planning board and to the Board of Health as FYI.
Got it.
And honestly, I really think that's all. So let's take a roll call vote for the motion to send the cease and desist and the enforcement order. Danza,
Aye.
Bertolucci,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Cannon,
Aye.
Crane, aye. Okay, so, oh, we're here to win friends and influence people, right? That's why I'm on the board. And of course, for the awesome amounts of money I get to make by being on the take, right? For the record, that's a joke. All righty, so we talked about 217 here, so let's now do number 3, which is tree clearing on Wachusett Street. There's a great nobody knows nothing about this going on, which is disconcerting, because if I remember right, Dick was here last time saying DCR was involved, but Jen McGinnis said she didn't know anything about it and that we should reach out to the forester, which is a different DCR group, sub-organization, whatever they want to call it. Tamika, did we ever reach out to them?
Yep, and I haven't heard anything back. His
How
name
long
is
ago?
Chris. I can't remember what his last name is. Last week sometime.
It was last week, so about a week.
Yep. And I don't have an email address for him. I asked her and she said she didn't have one and I couldn't find anything on the state site. So I don't have anything like in writing to him.
Okay. Well, the clearing's done. I know that I brought up the property, but we didn't have a clear placement of exactly where it is with respect to the wetlands. So it's now, but what does the commission think we should do about this? Just sit on it for another meeting? I mean, Tamika, reach out again, please, obviously. Thanks for being obvious, Peter.
So Peter, Dick Williams can't give you the name of the forester and is that email address and all that?
I will go. Actually, that's a good point. I'll reach out to Dick to see if he's got the forester's email address. Because we didn't discuss his email address. We thought we were just going to go through Jen. So I'll reach out to see if Dick has that. And I hope he does. We'll see what happens. So we'll bring this up in the next meeting with a status update. I'm still concerned that we never received any notification about it at all in paper or email or anything from anybody. So
It's who you are.
yeah. So Tamika will make another phone call. I'll reach out to Dick and I will forward any information I get to Tamika so she can write a letter asking him more personally what's going on there. And we'll carry it on and discuss it next time. Okay. So now I'm out of my fog of the war of work and I'm ready to start doing other things for the town again. So I am going to this week reach out to both Glenwood Place, and I never went by 26 Finn Park by myself this time, which I meant to do. But let's just pick a date. Dare I say Saturday for visits? Can anybody make that?
Saturdays are tough for me, Peter. It's the only busy day we have at the farm.
Right.
What day was that, Peter?
The 10th.
Peter, this Saturday is tough for me. I could possibly do it, but
Then how about the 7th? I hate to push it to Sunday. So how about the 17th?
I can do that.
That one's probably better for me in the morning at least.
Okay. Let me first put it in my calendar. This what location is going to be. Uh, 10 o'clock or 9:30? I only ask because, no, we only have 2 sites to really look at on Glenwood Place. So I think 10 o'clock will still give us plenty of time to be done here and on Finn Park in 2 hours. It ought to be. Depending on interactions with the residents, but
Which one do you want to go to first?
let's start at Glenwood.
Okay.
Tamika, you can post that?
Sure, which time do we decide?
I'm shooting 10 o'clock, I think.
Okay.
Unless Jared, Melissa, somebody else, anybody thinks a better time is better.
10 works for me.
Same.
10 o'clock it is. Oh, wait, let me also add some.
Where's that on Glenwood Place?
Really close. So it's just beyond the flagpole is where it all starts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is the section that the town took over at a recent town meeting. Clee built a whole new little, a few houses on and extended Glenwood Place.
Oh, okay, I know where it is now. That's the one with all of the ledge up there.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, so why is that say? Oh, because you think there's 15. Sorry, I'm just setting things up so I get proper reminders, and it's actually in my calendar. Awesome. There we go. 10 o'clock on the 17th. I'll see folks there, and we can discuss whatever we see and do at our next meeting. Right. Tamika, I'm just going to suggest we put the certificate of compliance for 26 Finn Park on the next agenda. I'll just do it now. And then if we pull it off because of what we see, then we'll do that then. Actually, that's not true. We don't have to pull it off because we can just discuss it and decide to take no action.
Sure,
Okay.
I'll add it to the next agenda.
Thank you. Moving on, 90 River Road, sometimes referred to as 94 River Road. Come on, here's the magic letter. So, I believe soil excavation is complete. Oh, in fact, the excavation area has been backfilled to above the water table. Oh, and by now it's supposed to be backfilled to grade. Loon and seeded, great. And yay, they remembered straw wattles. Yeah, so I think my only question is, do we want to go out and visit this site just to see it? We do have emergency orders in place, so I believe that we have authority to go on the property. Do we think we should, River Road, that's going to be closer to Glenwood. So do we want to go to River Road second? Do we not want to go on the property? To at least see what was done.
I think it'd be good to check, maybe just give if there's anyone living there right now a heads up, then we'd be over.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I do have because of a viewpoint for the demolition. I know that I have an email address I'll send that to you, Tamika, and you can send a nice letter asking that would you mind that we come out.
Sure, for Saturday the 17th?
Yes.
Okay.
And I still think that even with this, we mostly should be done within 2 hours. It might take a smidge longer just because of travel time. But okay. So that's 90/94 River Road. It's now, for those who don't know, it's really just a big open area with some trailers on it. And so the exact addresses are imprecise, which is why it's sometimes referred to as 90 and sometimes as 94. So, okay, we'll set that up. And that's there. Well, we're just cruising through this stuff. Back to my agenda here for a second, 90 River. Ah, yes. So we've had discussions in the past about what's going to happen at the Heights property. Last week on Wednesday, there was a meeting about the latest revision of the concept plan. Everything is in concept plan form right now, nothing final. So this, as written here, is not gospel. Don't worry about that. Harbor Classic Homes is talking about still purchasing 2 pieces of property. This area called Lot 1 and this area that we're calling Lot 2. And they're going to build some number of duplex housing units. And that number, I think on this one was this 144?
It's 142. And the RDIC actually just voted the other night that they're going to set that as the maximum number of units that can be built.
Okay. Thank you, Tamika. So I don't know how easily you can see some of these topo lines. It gets pretty steep. I asked them, do they intend to fill to bring it up to a single grade or just follow the lay of the land? They said they're going to follow the lay of the land. I think that's going to make sewer for some of these houses quite a fascinating issue. But this is all concept. So we'll see what they finally come up with. I will note the solar project that was supposed to be over here is officially dead, but we do have the agreed to wetlands map, so we shouldn't have to visit. We can go by the markings that Soul Systems, I forget which company did the wetlands mapping. Wouldn't have been Soul Systems, it would have been a subcontractor. I can look it up. Maria von Furstenberg did these. So that we don't have to worry about anything over here. This over here, the commission haven't looked at for a long time. This whole area is Zone A because there is an underground stream that runs dead center of this area and I believe feeds the pond. Now, how this fits into the zoning exactly, I don't know, but I don't need to understand. I'm just going to say that's the way that is right now. And so one of the benefits of losing all the building on Lot 1, which is, by the way, being purchased for future use, is that they don't have to cross this Zone A with sewer to get to the sewer lines that are planned to be right over here. So this is what we know right now. There'll be a meeting in a couple more weeks about more changes to the concept plan to really answer some questions before they can move forward. It's still in public hearing phase. Everybody's invited who wants to show up. Just look for the HPDD review board on the calendar and feel free to join and watch me present this plan again or whatever they send us this time. Questions about the Heights? There is one small detail I will fill in here. What may not be obvious is that the Heights property includes everything in this boundary. This thing right here which is Rutland Heights Way, stops about 3 feet from the edge of the property. And that is a driveway from the last 3 feet up past the schools that the buses use. Part of Harbor Classic's plan is to deed this 3-foot stretch of land to the town so they can own the continuous section, because the town owns the driveway and the town owns this road. It is a public road, but they don't own that 3-foot connector at the edge. So Harbor's taking care of that for them.
I believe they actually changed that recently. The Harbor is going to retain ownership of it, but they're going to do an easement for the town, and they were okay with that.
Even that, and even then, if it came to it, the town will just, if it really came to important things, the town would just take the land anyway by eminent domain. I know they've talked about that too, but easement to the town, fine, great. So Melissa, one of the questions that has been put out is, as you'll notice, Harbor Classic is going to own this entire stretch of land that goes all the way up and circles around and comes back down here. So if there were an actual use for this land, how would they get there? So there is a section of when we did the walks over here, we took this road to the edge. I believe there's a gate here, and there used to be a road here that continued down the property some. But it's in the Zone A, and it is, if it were me, I would call that road abandoned, especially since it was never taken by the town. The town is concerned with having access to this property. But if there's no road to get there, how then this would actually be worthless property for the town, for the town's point of view. They couldn't possibly sell it to anyone. Asterisk, someone who's interested in conservation was willing to let the trees grow, etc. So, Melissa, the reason I called your name is I'm interested in finding out what you think the DCR would think about extending this road as a road to grant access back here. And I know you don't work for them. I'm just asking for any insights you have.
Yeah, I feel like each project is different for them. So I don't really know what they would think about the extension of the roadway. I think the town could make a valid point, but I also think they would look at what the underlying use of the existence would be, of how much additional work will be done in that area.
Right.
So Peter, if I may, at the RDIC meeting last week, Mike Sullivan mentioned that he had spoken with Jeff Lacey, who is a former employee with the DCR, and although he said he couldn't speak for the DCR, he felt that they would have them do a notice of determination, and that given that the road was in existence before the enactment of the Watershed Protection Act, that they may have a good case to be able to continue that road. So the board actually voted unanimously to recommend that Harbor Classic Homes hire Jeff Lacey as a consultant, because he now works independently as a consultant. And that's where they left it.
Well, I'll tell you two things that make, I think I've said one of them already, that make it challenging. One is that this is, it absolutely was abandoned. And it's in incredibly bad shape right now. It is little more than scattered pieces of blacktop for a short distance. It certainly does not go all the way down to here. And furthermore, they're not only in the Zone A, they're in the 200. So, I mean, again, I also am not going to predict what DCR would do, but this might be a really hard road, a hard row to hoe, I hate to say.
There's also a phrase that is not coming to me what it is, of doing like a inflicted hardship essentially. So if you're the one who created the problem, especially under the Wetlands Protection Act, this has come up a lot, especially for access, if the lot was created by denying access and the only way is to cross or disturb wetlands, then you do have some relief of denying that application. So it's another thing that they might state, but it could be that because it was in existence regardless of the status of it right now prior to the act.
Yeah, I would actually be very interested if someone can point out to documentation that shows when the road was created. They're making a statement that it was done before the act. And I'm not saying they're wrong, but I just don't know what the documentary evidence of such a claim is. But let me put it this way. I'm glad all I have to do is watch. Because this is also, by the way, a single lane path. So if somebody wanted to make this usable and traversable, it'll be interesting to watch to see how the DCR manages it. Besides that, I mean, the other practical matter is, look how steep this whole area is, and it's within the 400. What is anybody going to do with this? Because they can't do anything here or in the majority of this whole area, just because it's dominated by wetlands. Oh, I didn't notice they stuck a basin over here. Well, again, this is concept, not reality. But I am very certain this is within 100 feet. And
that one was isolated. That's the one I think that has that road going through it.
Right, the road is right here that goes right through it. Does that make it isolated? So that this, well, I'm not saying, again, how big is it?
Yeah, no, I think that's what we confirmed it as. I think it says right on there, isolated.
Yeah, that's my recollection too.
I believe I see the word not isolated.
No, not regulated.
Okay, so I'm blind. I think I knew that.
It's okay, my eyes are
Isolated,
burning.
not regulated. That's what it says. Great. Okay. So it gives them a little more space. This is so steep. But again, that's not my problem. Let me stay out of the engineering side of the world. So this is where we are on the heights. So because of, oh, that's true. And if that's not regulated, then we don't necessarily have to see anything. Right? Because it depends on how far they are. But I'll bet this roadways, wouldn't surprise me if we're more than 100 feet, but we don't have a scale.
I think the red dotted line around it's 100 foot.
1 inch. Oh, great. But I don't know what an inch is. Oh, do we have it right here? Wait, that says 1 inch is 40. It says the same thing down here, right? No, this is 1 inch is 100. Is 1 inch 100 or is 1 inch 40?
I think the 100 foot's marked, Peter. It's that red dashed line. It's just not labeled.
This one right here?
Yep.
Could be. But then what's this line?
That's the 400.
The 200.
The 200 riparian.
That's the 200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm not, yeah. It doesn't surprise me that this would be outside. So we, Concom, may not see anything for this. To which I say, okie dokie. So I'll let you know as I learn more. I think I spent more time on this than I intended to.
Peter, just out of curiosity, is that interior lot line, is that line fixed?
This line?
No, the one that's kind of cutting through the middle of the site, just south of where the proposed houses are. The one that
Oh,
kind of, yeah,
this one right there.
that line right there. I was just curious if that line is fixed or if that's just a proposed interior lot line.
It is at the moment merely proposed.
Okay.
They will need to go before the planning board. This is all, so the entire Heights property is a single lot in the current property records. So they will need to go before the planning board to file what's called an A&R, an approval not required, in order to subdivide this giant thing into lot 1, lot 2, and the rest of it as a lot 3, I would suppose. Or they're just not subdividing this part. So this is, yes, so this is at the moment just proposed. It's not real until they file with the planning board.
Okay.
Which they would do as part of their regulatory process after approval of the finalized plan. Other questions? All righty. Oh, a budget discussion. Okay. Bad news. Budget is extremely tight this year. Worst news. The select board last night voted to put a $500,000 Prop 2.5 override so that we can have a balanced budget this year. Not so bad news, it doesn't actually affect us very much. It affects us ever so slightly. So there was a time in days of yore where our secretary and other services, everything that we pay for, was funded out of the general fund, which is appropriated at town meeting specifically that way. As this town has had more and more problems funding things, our budget has been coming out of the Wetlands Protection Fund. So Tamika's salary comes completely out of the Wetlands Fund. And a lot of our purchase services and most of the things that we buy, we have 4 line items in the budget, 3 of them come from the Wetlands Fund. Which also means we need to be a little careful because you're only allowed to charge to that fund monies for the enforcement and administration of the Wetlands Protection Act and nothing else. And that hasn't been a problem. That's all we've done as a group so far, fundamentally. This year, it is more than likely true that our final line item is moving to the Wetlands Protection Act, which is to that fund. It's a minor detail. It's not going to impact us and our operations at all. I just want to have everybody understand where we are.
You mean no raise again this year?
Well, we don't, yeah. Unfortunately, I'm going to keep, every once in a while they threaten to double my salary, only I've never seen it. So, yeah, that's pretty much, that's the way that is. And I'm going to avoid the very painful topic of salaries overall for our wonderful, joyous, marvelous administrator who's on the phone, with whom we could not survive, in my opinion. And I'll say everything else good I can about it. I just want to let you know that's where budgets are going this year. I also warned them. Last time we talked about taking over some or putting into our bylaws and regulations administration of certain aspects of the stormwater, erosion controls and certain surveillance, things like that. And the point was made that we will need a conservation agent to do that. And so I made that exact point to people on the budget committee and the DPW and the town administrator, saying that we're going to need to find someone, because we're going to have to be more active than we have been at managing all the work that bad things haven't generally happened, but there had been some events, and it would be better to have a conservation agent on hand. Now, if this person's actually called a conservation agent, I don't know, because of the other duties that we would have this person do. But I also said that that's going to be a position that somebody's going to have to budget, and is going to have to come out of the general fund, because it's not going to be exclusively Wetlands Protection Act. And how long we can do that by funding, even if we funded the significant portion out of wetlands, we can't do it forever. I don't know the exact balance, but let's just suppose for a moment that it was $100,000, which is on to a first order about what we have in that account. But that won't pay a person's salary at the scale that we need for very long before we have completely depleted the funds. And when that happens, we have to fund all of our line items out of the general fund. So I've just warned the finance committee that this is coming at them and the other people, just to say, this is the path we're looking at. And it doesn't impact FY22, but it's going to impact FY23 in some way. And they need to be prepared for that. Skip, do you think I stated things roughly right?
You did well, Peter. But you didn't tell them that they're taking the select board salary away, all the members of the board, they're pulling that.
Well, that's only if/when the override fails.
Yeah, well.
There are words I didn't say. As of today, there's a $480,000 deficit for our budget for this year, for the town's budget for this year.
Right.
And if the override fails and the school budget passes, the town has to find $480,000 in cuts, which is, in a word, catastrophic. Even if the school budget goes down, as I believe it should, but let me not get on that high horse right now. The school budget will come back reduced, but it's not going to reduce by $400-something thousand. It's going to be reduced by
Pennies.
Yeah, relatively little. That's because that's all they need to do. The school committee only can literally subtract $1 from their budget and put it back where we have to have another town meeting about it. So I can't tell you there are many things I can't tell you because my crystal ball is broken. So I don't know if the budget will be accepted by enough if the school budget will be accepted by enough towns, or if they go back and do work, and how many towns are going to reject. I have my own theory about that, but I'll keep that to myself. And even if they do, we still have a significant structural deficit that we have pushed. The can has been kicked so many times down the road, it cannot be kicked anymore. There probably isn't enough can there to kick. So we're at override or destroy a bunch of town services. And so what Skip was talking about is, if that happens, everybody's stipends are going away. And forget COLAs for non-union employees and step increases. And Ron has been talking about, we're going to lose, and this is a hypothesis, we're going to close the library. We're going to lose all of our police department. it's silly to say the entire police department. We'll lose 3 police officers and a couple firefighters and whatever. Nobody's done the math to know what is actually going to have to be cut, but it's going to be severe, and you're going to hear a lot about it over the next coming months if you pay attention. So that's where the budget is.
Peter, my problem is none of the unions are stepping up and saying, hey, we're gonna help. None of them.
Yep. When was the last time they did?
Not a one.
Yep.
Very
And so at the end of the day, they will end up losing positions, union
Yep.
positions. That will end up being the cut.
Yeah, but I won't go there. I better not get up.
Yeah. Let's not have a big discussion about that. I just wanted to sort of have everyone here understand the position we're in. As I said, the good news is it doesn't really directly impact us in any of our work. And beyond that, we'll see what happens. Questions and comments beyond, wow, does this suck? Hi.
What's next, Peter?
Say aye.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, we have a couple items that were added at the last minute. So by Roberts, we're supposed to take a vote. So I'd like a motion to add a discussion about 4 Oakley Circle raised by a resident and a resident inquire about a vernal pool to our agenda.
So moved.
Oh,
Second.
hold on. I need you to amend it because we also have to talk about DPW building or behind the DPW building.
So I'll amend my so moved to so moved.
I'll second again.
Seconds, thirds, fourth. Roll call. Danza,
Aye.
Bertolucci,
Aye.
Clark,
Aye.
Cannon,
Aye.
Crane, aye. All right, so we have 3 things for our agenda. Let's start with 4 Oakley Circle. So this is an email written by a resident. Jared, you and I saw this. These are actually close-up photos of that swale behind Oakley Circle up on the hill and coming down the hill. There's some very nice photos here. Well, okay, I'm still not sure what that one's supposed to be showing other than the fact that it's all down here. And apparently somebody rode their truck onto the lawn. And here you get sort of an idea of the scale of how deep this I hesitate to, it feels much deeper than a swale, especially since they didn't put anything in it to retard the flow of water. This is clearly eroded substantially. Jared and I noticed this, and I talked to Tom Larson, who is the project manager over at Brice. I just want to see what else we've got. That's a 90-degree angle, the same kind of idea. So actually, let me go back to, no, I want to go back to the larger, to this photo. So as you can, as may not be entirely obvious, this black stripe here is actually the loam that's being held in place by the root systems of the trees and the vegetation. So towards this, towards the camera is the swale itself, which is generally up this embankment and up a hill and goes up and around the whole all of Oakley and all the properties there. Now on this property, this is where it actually comes to grade, to final grade, and then runs further down the hill and into another swale. This is actually one of the sources that residents have complained to Clee, and he's claimed that he's going to take care of it this year in the spring when everything melts, and we'll get more involved in that, I imagine, or somebody will get more involved in that as time goes forward. So I want to read a few things. No, let me see what other photos there are. You saw that one. This is obviously, this is the very bottom of the swale. It is unsurprising that it's all ice. but you can still see how deeply this has scoured the earth in the past. Yeah, just a little further up. And it goes up. So it looks about the same. So when Jared and I went out and looked at this late last year, we noticed this exact condition and we were concerned. And so I brought it up to Tom Larson, and his position is that it is behaving the way it's supposed to, like a stream behaves, in that a stream does not continuously erode silted sediment after it settles. And so his position is that this is the way it's supposed to be. I haven't taken, in fact, when Jared and I went out, there was no one home on this property to talk to, because I would love to go out and measure how deep from here, but basically how deep this swale has eroded into the surface. We can see that it is clearly, it certainly appears to be a couple feet deep here, several feet deep here. It is also important to note that Concom does not have jurisdiction on this. We can raise a point with the DEP, but this is all part of the superseding order of conditions. So I do want to point out a couple things from this letter. I can't say that this statement that the ditch eroded 1 to 2 feet in the year they've been here. I cannot substantiate and I cannot refute that. I don't know. But that's why I want to take a measurement to see actually how far down below finish grade it is, so we can determine the likelihood of the factual veracity of this statement. I do wonder about this exact thought, that if the side of that embankment, and I'll go to a photo that's up, right, where this is held in place only by the root structure of these trees and the surrounding vegetation. And it's a little concerning to me that this is in this state. And I did ask them to consider putting in something to actually retard the flow of water. Nothing's gone in. Or maybe in that photo, we saw some rocks at the very bottom of the swale. But I don't know that actually does it. I was going to kind of let this, to evaluate this water system or this drainage system in the spring. And look, spring is here, so it's time for us to start doing this. The letter just reinforces that keeping in touch with this might be a good idea. I am ignoring this entire paragraph for lots of good reasons. So the good news is, it surprised me. I actually went up into the town hall yesterday and got into our many boxes of records and the couple boxes of Brice Lemon records, and I did not find a SWIP, which surprised me. I also did not find the Quinn Engineering report of their analysis of the stormwater, the drainage, the erosion controls, all of that. So I need to go and find those. There is a formal public records request in process to supply all this information. the erosion and sedimentation control plan, the stormwater management plan. And the great thing for me is I don't have to do anything for the erosion and sedimentation control plan because that's part of the DEP superseding order of conditions. They need to get that from, oh, actually, oh no, they asked for it with the subdivision application. So again, that's not us. So we are likely going to be hearing more about this particular water feature. That's what I'll call it. I will, so as for the request to conduct a site visit, we can certainly do that. I would not do that on the same day that we're doing all the others. Because this wasn't, oh yeah, it was sent to us. So I do need to draft a real letter that responds to this. And I'll mention that we did see it. I think the big question that's going to come to us is the thing that I've said more than once. If sedimentation is not coming out of that swale, I don't think Concom has anything to say. DEP may, and that's up to them because it's their superseding order. But I don't think there's any sort of enforcement that Conservation Commission can do because of the superseding order. Oh, look, they're also requesting that. And so part of what we will respond with as the formal records request is saying, you don't want our order of conditions. You want the DEP order of conditions that you can find over there somewhere. And ditto for the erosion and sedimentation control plans because they were not, they're all taken over. And then the stormwater plans, I don't even know where that is. I haven't found a paper. We would have only gotten paper copies and I haven't found any paper for it. Maybe what we should do, if we could, as a commission, get together in the town hall one day and sort of, just so we can all understand the state of the records that we have. We actually have some records at the top floor of the town hall, and we have some records in the annex. Melissa's seen about, actually, Melissa, I know you've seen it because it was everything that was in that room got moved up to the top floor. It's still quite a mess, and now there are other boards mixing their stuff in, so it's gotten, it's more obnoxious than I like and quite a bit more out of control than I like, but we need a plan to work on that, and I'm not ready to make that plan yet. Anyone have any comments on any of this? This letter was in the packet, so I'm sort of assuming you all read it, and I'm just highlighting things that I think are important from it.
Peter, just to add to this conversation, if I'm remembering correctly, I think I had first noticed this during the site walk, and Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong, we did a site walk out at Brice Lemon. I want to say it was maybe September last fall. And I think it was on that day that we did walk up Oakley Drive. We did knock on the door for Oakley Drive, did speak to the homeowners. They did allow us to take a peek at that swale, and I had the same concerns at that time. And I think this may have come up at a past Concom meeting, probably last fall, but it's certainly seen erosion over time. It's not stabilized, and I think there is potential safety concern with a lot of those trees that are rooted in the soil just above that swale. And if it continues to erode, then I think there's certainly some safety concerns there. So I just wanted to mention that. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely, in my opinion, I don't know what this falls back on. It doesn't seem like we as a commission necessarily have jurisdiction over the swale, but if it were me, I would want to see the swale stabilized in some fashion, whether it's vegetated, stone, combination of both. I think leaving it bare is just going to continue to cause more problems.
Yeah, having it not only be bare, but having nothing to slow down the water flow, that's a surprisingly steep slope. And there's a lot of water a lot of water must have flowed down that in order to erode, to dig that as deeply as it has been done. I don't dispute that.
I also was wondering, Peter, I don't know the answer to this, but it'd be nice to know or understand, was that swale naturally formed by the runoff, or was it dug out initially as a much smaller swale and it's been enlarged by continuous runoff over time?
Well, let me see if I can answer that question.
I think we had talked about this on site with Tom, and he said it was dug out. It was man-made feature.
I was pretty sure that was true. Give me just a couple minutes here, because I can get something that is worthwhile to us that is not responsive to the public records request, because this is our copy, not what the DEP issued their conditions against, as far as I know. That one. And then we go to OneDrive. Come on. Come on, computer. Oh, did I do it the right way? Could that have happened? Oh, then how lucky am I? So I'm just trying to find the right set of documents here. Hot diggity dog. All right, I've got them all. Let's take a guess. But that's not going to be it. It's going to be in the details. I don't know which plan will do it. So let's start on the definitive plan. I got to get this out of my way. Yes, we're so exciting. We've lost another member. That's not a member, another viewer. All right, that's Charnock Hill, phase 1. So this ought to be Oakley, which they called something else in these days, Millbrook Circle, I believe. So sheet 6. Okay, so that's interesting, because this is, wow, this says they own all the way to the top of the hill, or suggests they own all the way to the top of the hill. But there's nothing here in the so-called definitive plan. Let's go to the detail sheets. Yeah, it's not going to say very much. I do not see a lot here. I was looking for something that actually shows the swale. And I don't expect to see it in the erosion control, because the erosion control plan would just be, I would think, wattles or bales and silt fence. Oh, but maybe it also contains some more info. Right. And oh man, I can't read that to know what sheet is what. So I'm going to take a wild guess at 3. Yeah, that's a circle. Those are the lots. So the swale's all over here, but it's not documented as being part of this. It must be part of the stormwater management plan. At least I imagine that's where it is. Anybody have other ideas about where it might live? Because it's not going to be in the offsite sewer or offsite water. I guess maybe it could be in the profiles.
Peter, do they have any site grading plans? That's another spot where you often find swales.
Fair question.
I'm like 75% sure it wasn't on the plan. It was something that they had just kind of mitigated after.
And I think these are all streets. Profiles of streets and not of any other feature. Oh, wait a minute. What are you? Oh, no. Cross-country drainage, whatever the hell that means, which I think is exactly what we're looking for. Oh, so of course we need to know what the lot numbers are, but this is still right next to a road. I don't even know where 24 and 25 are. No, this way. Because they should have had to amend the plan if they put it in. Because this all goes into the stormwater system. So I have to wonder again if it's just in the stormwater. Well, except that if they added it afterwards, it wouldn't be part of the original stormwater plan. I still don't see anything that looks like a swale on any of these drawings. So to answer your question, if I go to, was I already here? Right, so the definitive plan does not show any topo lines. Oh, that's right. And these are all the detail sheets, and they're all going to be typicals. And it's not in the erosion control. It's not going to be an offsite sewer and water. It's not phasing and... Oh, okay, hold on. Now there's this site plan. What do you know? We did find a site plan. Wait, weren't we already here? No, probably not. So sheet 7, sheet 6. That didn't show what I thought it was going to show. Oh, did I click 7? That's
Yeah, I
what-
think that's 7, Peter.
I clicked the wrong thing. Hey, they have the right name this time. It's at Oakley. So there's the hill. The houses are in. What the heck is that? Is that supposed to be the swale, do you think?
That's the old cart path.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Oh.
the swale.
No, Melissa's right. That's the cart path. Because that goes right across that crossing, temporary crossing. Because this is to the Sunnyside, and Sunnyside continues off and does its crossing down, up, downways a little bit. And this is a second temporary crossing for them to get all their construction stuff up in this area. But my goodness, that is at the top, isn't it? Is
Peter,
that-
I was gonna say, it looks like this plan reflects the grading for the roadway work, but it doesn't have any grading for the house lots.
Right.
So it's almost like, I guess I'd call this an interim grading plan or interim site plan, because it provides the grading for the roadways and to accommodate the roadways, but there would be additional grading for the house lots to build the houses, driveways, front yards, backyards, etc. But that's not reflected on this plan.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick my neck out here. I'm pretty sure that this is for Oakley, this property right here,
I think that's correct.
because it goes downhill to these guys and it does go uphill. And this sure looks like it's about the location of the end of the swale, roughly. So I'm not sure what these marks are really trying to tell us. All right, I'll have to reach out to Clee and Julian to see where the heck the swale is documented. Because it needs to be documented somewhere, and this is, no, this is this particular sheet is from May 28, 2019. So that is the most recent modifications to these plans that I know of. So I do have to wonder where the heck the SWIP is, because we should have seen that. I would have thought we would have seen this part of our, oh, maybe it's included in the giant NOI package. Does that make sense, Melissa? It'd be in that book?
It could be, yeah, if it's big enough. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 120 pages or more.
Yeah, right. All right, so we spent a lot of time on this just to say, I'm not sure that we have any jurisdiction to do anything. And we may have to supply information that will in the end not be useful to the person who requested it, because we can certainly supply the NOI we received, but we also certainly can't say this is final and definitive because DEP took it all over.
Peter, you mentioned the SWIP, which it probably is part of that NOI report. It tends to be a lengthy document, but that SWIP relates back to the NIPD's permit that
Right.
I'm assuming that there is one that was procured for the subdivision as a whole. They
Right.
absolutely would have needed one because they're well over an acre of disturbance.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, obviously,
Hold on. 1 acre of disturbance is the new measure. You have to go back to the way that it was in the permit land in 2014,
Which
and
was
maybe
5
earlier
acres.
than that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm not saying that. Don't get me wrong. This subdivision needed the NIPD's permit. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
right.
anything else. I'm just saying the metric changed with the EPA's changing of their regs.
Right. That's a good point. But regardless, I think, yes, they would have a NIPD's permit or should have a NIPD's permit. And I feel like if nothing else, you fall back on the requirements of a NIPD's permit that requires that the contractor follow the EPA's construction general permit. And that essentially requires that all disturbed areas be stabilized. And I think that's something that can be fallen back on by the homeowners or I suppose whoever's jurisdiction this falls under. But that's one thing that's kind of universal when it comes to erosion and sediment control and stabilization of slopes, vegetated areas, swales, etc. That's all covered by the NIPD's permit and the SWIP.
Right.
And in my opinion, that bare earth swale would not comply with the EPA's construction general permit. But just my opinion.
Yep. Still not something Concom would necessarily enforce, but certainly something we could alert them to.
Yeah.
Or as you say, the homeowner can. But I'm not sure how I want to go too far down a path. So yes. So I'll reach out to Clean to Julian to say, hey, there's this swale. Where is the design for it? Because I don't see it in any of these places. In fact, I'll also get the NOI from the attic and see what it contains. If it contains anything about this at all, or Melissa, I remember you saying that you thought this was put in to ameliorate a condition.
Yeah. That's my recollection of when I don't know if it was me, Jared, and Tom, or if it was just for maybe the first site visit with the various state departments. But I remember them saying that it was kind of an after effect, and that's why after me and Jared had gone out, I brought up the point of the planning board regs not allowing country drainage except for in specific circumstances when the slopes of the road are very small.
I'll also go through all these plans in a little more detail to see exactly what they say about country drainage, because I saw the words a couple times, but I haven't seen them with respect to this area. So all right. So I will see what documentation we have. I will reach out to Clean to Julian to see what they have for design docs on it and how it fits into the overall system that was originally designed. And we'll talk about it next time. And then I'll reach out to the landowner to say, here's what we know, here's what we believe, here's what we're still trying to figure out. But we have seen it, and we have recognized that it's something that the builder may need to deal with. Now, I'm sure he won't like soft and squishy words like may have to, but I can't promise that the builder will have to. So, other questions or comments?
Just general Bryce Lemon stuff. Can you ask Clee again about the wetland restoration plan? I haven't seen that come through at all either.
Yeah, Tamika, what did we get from Tom? That that was.
Yeah, I had put that under correspondence. I reached out to Chris Lucas, and his response was, Tom will be getting something to you. Then Tom emailed, I think yesterday or the day before, and said that he and Chris are meeting next week and they'll get something out to us soon. And that was basically the gist of it. Nothing definitive.
All right,
No,
thanks.
you're right. This should be further along than this.
I agree, and I don't know if they've been updating Gary at all, which I would suggest doing as well. Just to have both agencies and DCR, come out on the same page.
Right. All right. I don't have a pen with me. Tamika, do me a favor. Send me an email when we're done, and it'll be at the top of my email, so I'll get it done sooner. With all the points I'm supposed to bring up to Clee and Julian.
Got it.
Thank you. Because I can't take notes. Well, I can't take good notes right now. So I don't want to forget. We have too much going on right now. And then I suspect some form of nastygram will be going out to Clee with CC to, as Melissa suggests, all the state departments who should be involved in this. Yeah, and I'm going to go with the rise of that, the slope, I should say, of that swale should make it ineligible for country drainage. But I need to work on that a little bit. So we'll start working on that. We'll discuss it more next time. Alrighty. Moving on from 4 Oakley and Brice Lemon. So we have an inquiry about a potential vernal pool. So I'm going to ask Jared and Melissa, what's the most right way for us to deal with potential vernal pools, especially as they relate to development projects?
For permitting purposes, typically you only kind of review work within possible habitat when something's in front of you. Otherwise, unless the town has initiative to go out and certify vernal pools, we won't most likely see it. But if something was to come in front of us, then if it has evidence of being certifiable, we can treat it as a certifiable vernal pool when looking at applications. And then that, typically limits the amount of disturbance to buffer zone, depending on kind of what's around it. If it's found to support obligate vernal pool species, because salamanders are said to go 1,000 feet around the vernal pool. We only have jurisdiction over 100 feet. And it's also only jurisdictional when the vernal pool is inside a regulated wetland resource, which can sometimes be tricky as well.
Okay.
I think the hard part would be for one that's not in front of us, is that right now is the perfect season to determine if it's certifiable or not. If they submit in September, if we do have evidence that it could be, it's something that we would have to push off until, March or April when vernal pool season happens again.
So let me ask a couple more questions. So on those, let's just take the salamander case where their roam is much larger than our jurisdiction. How do we deal with that, or do we not deal with it?
We do deal with it. Oh my gosh, we do deal with it in the sense that we still regulate it within that first 100 feet. So it's basically the commission needs to make a determination of the type of species that are in there and how much the landscape around it is providing a benefit. And specific ones, like possibly where this one would be, if it's more open field around it, it's already lawn, then it's probably not providing a lot of habitat for species that may be there, while others that are in a completely wooded setting, that wooded habitat would provide a lot more of a benefit to those obligate species.
In general, who would the commission submit a request for certification, or would the landowner or someone who does that work?
If it's on private property, it is highly suggestible by natural heritage that you have the permission of the landowner to certify it.
Mhm.
It's really, if you have documentation, technically you're allowed to submit to certify it. It's not a requirement that it's certified to treat it as a certifiable vernal pool. And it's not necessarily required to have it certified, but is a common condition if the commission were to have something in front of them to require them to certify, if possible.
Right. So, okay. Okay. Okay, I think what would you suggest have you read the letter that's in the packet?
I have, yes. I would suggest if there's an ability to somehow get near that area and, get evidence if the commission wants to have it, if we're expecting an application in the future, it's kind of a tricky scale. You don't want to go over bounds. I know there is open space right behind it. I'm very familiar with that property personally, so it's kind of up to the commission. I mean, it's kind of it's a horrible thing in the sense that it's so time dependent.
Right.
With vernal pools, because this is the perfect season to be looking at them right now, or the perfect time. But when things are submitted, in the fall or summer, it's a lot harder for the waiting time for them to come back.
Right, right. So if this were, let's just suppose that something does come in the fall for this property, would we hold off on the NOI?
We would still open it. We can still discuss it. It might, so it depends on how comfortable the commission might be, and also conditioning, like, okay, if the location of the vernal pool, because it is so case by case basis, if this particular one, which has a lot of kind of field around it, and we kind of do a site visit and maybe even have a third party go out and look as well to determine if it could be suitable for breeding habitat, or if it really isn't providing a net benefit. And instead, any future applications could propose an actual net benefit habitat along the lines of the vernal pool.
Okay.
Hopefully that made sense.
I think so.
Okay.
My brain is filling up, but I think it made sense.
Yeah, vernal pools are so difficult because it really is a case by case. Like, I'm dealing with one right now that's in a backyard that they're looking to expand, but it's all wooded and open space behind that. So it's providing such a really good habitat area with an evidence of a lot of salamanders and other vernal pool obligate species, while another one in front of us, it's just in the middle of an agricultural field and it's just nothing. it's not really providing any benefit around it. So
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's your advice for us for now for this one?
I would say, keep it in our notes for now. And as things move forward, if something is proposed, then we'll kind of look at it. I'm kind of out in that area. And if any other commissioners are as well that may have a recording of the wood frogs, that's good enough to get it certifiable, as long as you can also delineate the area of the pool. But just recording of wood frogs is enough information that's needed by the state.
Interesting. Okay. Are they normally nighttime or evening? Is that when they go out and do their singing?
Yes, I'm surprised you can't even hear them from my window right now.
Okay.
But they are during the day as well. They're also active during the day. You can pretty much go anytime during vernal pool season and hear them.
Okay. Ding ding. Oh, there's somebody. All right. So because this is the right season, I'd rather we do a little bit of work up front. Does it make sense, in your opinion, to reach out to the property owner to ask for permission to look at this?
I would. It could be something that we start doing in town in general, looking at potential vernal pools. I think especially because I know a lot of that property around there is being sold.
Mm-hmm.
And also since I just remembered, they've done a little bit of clearing on the other side of the road, just a little vegetation, I think, for preparation. So I think it is worth reaching out to any land and property owners, even in that area, just to remind them of the regulations and maybe seeing if we can go on the property.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting thought. So I'm gonna task you to get sort of a list of the property owners in the area we're talking about here, and we can talk about how we want to write the letter next time. How does that sound? It's already 5 to 8, so.
Yeah.
And then next time we'll talk about how we want to approach it with all the residents. How does that sound?
Also, deal.
All righty.
Good to me.
Okay. Now we have something that came up today. Joe Buckley, the DPW director, reached out to me to talk about some problems behind the DPW building. So some of you might remember the storm of 08, the ice storm. After the ice storm, a lot of brush and stumps and trees got put behind the DPW building. And they've been sitting there since then. Well, Joe's taking care of that, and that's not what we're here to discuss tonight. He discovered that there is actually a detention pond back there that has failed. And Joe's going to start working on I think he said it was going to be a 4-bay detention pond to replace it, or detention basin. And he's also doing some more stormwater drainage work back there to make things a lot better than they are. Let me show you a couple photos. Oh, of course you went back, because why wouldn't you keep the zoom that I wanted you to keep? So this has to be the edge of the basin that looks pretty crappy. And it looks like somebody's been doing some stuff here. 'Cause I haven't been back there physically. As I said, I only got a phone call today about it. So, so I can't place this precisely. I do know that part of this goes behind Marsh Field. I know that part of it goes to, there's just a lot going on back here. So this, I believe, is part of the drainage, part of the stormwater leading somewhere, but I don't have a good feel for where that is. And finally, the last photo I have is this one. Which shows quite a mess. Because if that's supposed to be a detention basin, yeah, it's not in good shape. So Joe's going to get us more information. This has got to be the outflow right here. I hope. As he's working on it and comes up with a plan for it, but he just wanted us to let us. He just wanted to let us know that things are going on, and that not to be surprised, and that we're welcome to look and examine and ask questions and all of that. So I just wanted to bring everybody up to what I know, which is very little. Questions or comments?
Peter, do we know if there are any wetlands back in this area?
I can actually pull that up if you give me another half a minute. If I could find my cursor, I could do it really quickly. No. Oh, no. So let's go here and use. It's everybody's favorite tool, the GIS, which is just marvelously fast this evening. I think that's the DPW building. Poof, it's gone. I can't believe that there is. Okay, so it didn't take my request to show wetlands, but it thinks it is. But how can this not be a wetland?
I think it's just working super slow. It's doing it for me too.
Okay. Right, because this ought to be Miles Road right here. And we know that there are wetlands here because we just walked these a couple months ago, right, Jared?
That's right. Yeah, I'm looking on Oliver right now, Peter. Those
Yeah.
wetlands off Miles Road are showing up. It looks like behind the DPW building, the only thing that's showing up on Oliver is a hydraulic connection.
Okay.
So it might be maybe an intermittent stream back there potentially, but no large wetland areas immediately behind the building or in that vicinity.
Yeah, and it looks like maybe, since these are recent orthos, I'm going to bet that this is where everything got dumped. Yeah, I would say this looks like waste. So this is what he started cleaning up when he discovered the problem. It's not a great clear picture, but it's okay.
Yeah,
So
my
the
only-
good news, no, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, my only other comment would be making sure it's not a wetland in itself. And because if it was built before 1996, it has to have a record of being maintained for it not to qualify as a wetland. If it was built after 1996, then it's fine, because that's when the policy was enacted.
Oh, I mean the detention basin itself?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it has certainly not been maintained, I'll say that. based on what Joe said. So he's trying to repair it and then get it working and get the drainage squared away properly, and then he'll take care of it correctly. I just hope that people beyond Joe also maintain it. But that's stuff that we can manage if we know about it, right? Look at that darned pile. Holy cow. All right. Are there questions about DPW building? Okay. I'm going to skip over bylaws and regulations because it's too late to do any of that tonight. As I'd already said, my brain is full, but we can't stop yet because we have a couple more things to discuss just to make sure everybody's on the same page. The NOI that we didn't have, which has not officially been fully submitted yet, for Pioneer Circle, the 7 lots there. When we do not have a DEP number because the DEP said, hey, you don't have a SWIP for this, but the SWIP was part of, this is all part of Brice Lemon, so it should fall under that SWIP, but maybe the paperwork just wasn't done correctly. So it sounds, Tamika, is that your understanding of our current status?
Yeah, I actually just forwarded you the email that came from Kim today if you wanted to share it.
Oh, sure. Trying if I could work my computer. All right, do that. You got my way. And we have to do whatever happened to view. Why is, oh, there's Zoom. Make it big enough to be readable, and then we'll do this. So this is, who's yelling at Tamika? Sorry, who's yelling at Julia?
Yeah.
It's Tim Roth. Okay.
Yeah, if you
Tim
scroll
Roth
down
is-
a little bit further, you can see what Julian said to her, and then this is her response to him.
Gary Domain. Well, no, but okay. Is aware of this. Yeah, okay. But as she says, you can't depend upon any individual who gets the NOI knowing that. So really it's man, I'm having trouble reading. I must be very tired now. So it's fix the documentation, darn it. And it also says the commission's request you submit individual NOIs, and I have yet to hear back on this issue. So I don't see her taking a position on that, on single NOI versus 7 NOIs.
No, I think that, when I had reached out to him to ask that, and he responded and said essentially that they weren't going to do that because it wasn't necessary. And then you had responded just better explaining the reasoning behind it. And then we never heard back from him again after that.
Right.
So that's why I've held the checks and haven't done anything moving forward, because he hasn't solidified it. And now the DEP seems to be up in the air with his filing as well.
Right. So let me ask a procedural question of Melissa and Jared. Does the commission have the authority to say you shall submit 7 discrete NOIs, or is either filing acceptable per the regs? Because I think the regs allow both approaches. So I'm just wondering what the regs say about this, about our authority to dictate. So do we have authority to say you must submit 7 NOIs?
Historically, commissions have required that for larger projects or individual lots that each separate notice of intent is required, and DEP has backed them up on that. So I don't know if I can't say 100% with confidence that the regs specifically state that the commission has that authority, but DEP has backed up commissions who have want individual NOIs.
Okay.
I can look through the MACC handbook a little bit more tomorrow and see if there's some better information about it.
That would be great, because I'd like to, I don't want to go down a path that's going to be controversial, if you know what I mean.
No, absolutely.
If we have the authority to say this and DEP backs us up consistently, that's one path, but I would really, really, really like to point to a section of regulation that says that we get to say this is how you have to submit.
Peter, I just have a question.
Yes.
Just kind of stemming off of this other one that we're doing next time. How does that work if they complete everything, the homes get sold, and then somebody down the road goes to sell their house and now it has this open order of conditions? Because notoriously developers don't always get their certificates of compliance. How would that work if it was only one order for all of the lots?
We would have to issue 7 separate
Partials.
partial certificates of compliance against that one NOI. And
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if that makes it 6 partial and 1 it's all complete, or 7 partials and a separate thing that says they're all discharged. I that's a process I don't know. This is one of the reasons that I didn't want to do partials, but
Yeah, a lot of towns don't.
yeah. But I need to know what legal leg, because we're getting pushback from the applicant to separate them. Okay.
Peter, I don't know if you saw, but there's a message in the chat.
I did see that.
From
There was
Brian,
something
okay.
else to hit through to get to, and then we'll go to public comment. Oh, that's true. Public comment normally does go before, but that's all right. We started it. So let's talk about the mitigation plan from Lucas Environmental. That's about Brice Lemon, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And so we actually already touched upon the 2 things I had in correspondence, and those I put in your reminder email that I just sent you.
Oh, okay, great. So I believe that the mitigation plan that Lucas put in was for when the tracked vehicle went through.
Right.
Yeah, it does not. I'm very sure it does not cover the one that we discovered and are concerned with.
Correct. Yeah, it's the one that Chris gave us when we were on site.
Right. All right. So I need to do a bit of letter writing and actually get to it this time instead of just putting on the list of things that never get done. So yes, that's on me to manage this time. So now let's go to public comment. Mr. Bjorklund, I did see that you sent us a text. In fact, I noticed it about 2 minutes before Tamika mentioned it, something highlighted on my control panel. So please, you have questions, feel free to ask.
No worries. I know this is everybody's favorite topic, and now that they're not town-owned lots, I betcha was hoping that, thinking that people didn't want to have to deal with it anymore. But so just over the weekend, or just before the weekend, we were looking out our kitchen window and noticed that all of the wetlands have been flagged on Sunny Hill Estates. So I walked all of the properties, and it appears that the new buyer has hired somebody to flag the wetlands. And I was just curious. I know Tamika mentioned in her email to me that there hasn't been any sort of correspondence with the town about that yet, or any proposals from Abby, the new buyer. And I was just curious if anybody else has heard anything of what she's proposing or whatnot. And then, what the regulations are for building distance from a wetland that's within the watershed protection zone. Because it's kind of blurry. It's not really all that clear to the public.
Okay, well, the reason it's not clear to the public is it's not clear to any, well, okay, it's unfair to say it's not clear to anyone, that it just in general isn't clear
Sure.
because there's watershed protection and there's wetlands protection.
Right.
And wetlands protection is managed by Conservation Commission and watershed protection is dealt with by and enforced by DCR.
DCR, yeah.
So when someone wants to do work, they need to submit for permits from all the permitting agencies. And that would, in this case, if there's watershed involved,
Yes.
absolutely include the DCR.
Okay.
Let's start. Sunnyhill Estates is an old subdivision with an approved subdivision plan.
Right.
Actually, let me back up a little bit and say, you just admitted to being a very naughty boy
Oh,
What do you say?
because you were trespassing on someone else's property.
No.
but they're not posted.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
No.
No individual you did not attempt to get permission from the landowner before crossing onto it. Posting doesn't matter. The law is very clear that is trespassing.
Gotcha. Even on the access road, the sewer easement line.
Yes, because that is merely an easement. It is not owned by the town.
Oh, okay. I thought
Okay.
that was owned by MWRA. No.
They may very well only. I'd have to look into it to be
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Anyway.
Having gotten my tisk out of the way, there is an approved subdivision. If they plan to keep the same lot lines, that's fine, and they're allowed to build within the constraints of the plan that was put forth.
Okay.
So
The newer lot size regulations would not play into effect there since they've been approved or
That's
approved.
exactly correct. That is actually a zoning matter, and somebody on the zoning on planning could answer that better. But it is my understanding that at the time of the approval of the plan, zoning laws at that time apply, and nothing newer applies. So they don't need to meet the new requirements for size or layout or frontage. It's all whatever was existing at the time.
Wow. Okay. But they would still have to pass the wetlands and the
Yes.
the water. Yes. Okay.
So they would need to get through today's wetlands because we don't have a plan. Nothing was ever, well, it's more complicated. It's a little more complicated than I'm saying, but to simplify, they have to meet today's wetlands regs, period. And today's watershed regs, since you brought it up.
Yep.
Period. Because there is no approved plan for any lot that says the house is going here, the sewer line is going there, the water line's going here, here's the driveway, here's how big the house is, all of that, or septic, or whatever it is for these houses, and I don't actually know. Whatever plan they do has to meet, because there is no individual plan for every house that's been approved, that process has to go forward. So the definition of the property has to meet the zoning requirement, and the use is allowed to meet the zoning requirements. No, I take that back. The use of the property has to meet today's zoning requirements. If not the lot requirements, but if it's an R40, they can only do things allowed in R40. They can't do industrial stuff.
Sure.
That's probably an oversimplification, and if you need more guidance, the building inspector can really steer you correctly on that.
Sure.
But as far as Concom is concerned, they would have to file with us, and we would have to issue an order of conditions that would approve their request.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Anything else? Doesn't sound like it. Is there any other business before the commission tonight? Okay. I have one other question. Melissa, did you do I remember? I didn't see it really quickly. I went scanning looking for bylaw references. Did you send that out, or Tamika? After the last-
Yes.
You did. Good. Okay. Everybody, please review them because we need to start talking about them more seriously. And I expect and hope that we will have time next meeting to start that discussion. Other than that, I will accept a motion.
To adjourn.
Second.
Roll call. Clark,
Aye.
Gentilucci,
Aye.
Danza,
Hi.
Cannon,
Aye.
Crane, I. We are adjourned. Thanks so very much, everybody.